Hello, I'm Barratt. It's good to see you again for my Monday morning meditation. I want to talk about taking offence. Is it all right to be offended? Well, many preachers say we should never take offence. There's no excuse we shouldn't take offence. But I beg to differ. Even Jesus was offended at times. Let me read it. Matthew chapter 16, verse 23. But Jesus turned and said to Peter, "Get thee behind me, Satan. You are an offence to me, for you savour not the things that be of God, but those that be of men." And then Jesus tells us in Matthew 18 that offences will come. Verse 7, "Woe unto the world because of offences, for it must needs be that offences come. But woe to that man by whom the offences come." So we don't have a choice. We'll be offended. That's all right. It's what you do with the offence that matters. Of course, we're offended in our marriage, in our home life, in our work, in our church. Of course, we get offended. It's all right. It's what we do with it. So how do we know if we've taken offence in the wrong way? Let me give you some signs. There's many more. This is only a short little study. But here's some of the signs to take note in case you're offended. Number one, you start to be critical of the one who's offended you. You may say things like, "Well, he's a lovely brother, but," and then you criticise them. It's so easy to do. And you start to make judgments of the one who's offended you. You start to notice weaknesses that you hadn't noticed before. And you even start to look for the faults. And you do this because you're seeking ways to get revenge. Of course, it doesn't seem like revenge, but to find fault and look for ways to get, to get one up on a person or to prove your point, it has its roots in revenge. Another clue is there's a loss of unity for those that have offended you. You don't feel quite the same towards them anymore. And because of that, you start to avoid meeting the person. You try and be on the other side of the church, or you don't want to get too close to your wife or your children. Anyone who's offended you, this is a natural thing. You start to avoid being close to the person who's offended you, or else you act in a normal way, and often you're over the top, and you become a hypocrite because you don't feel the same way towards them, but you don't want them to know it, in case you feel stupid or embarrassed. So you become a hypocrite and act as though you're normal, but there's disunity. Well, there's clear instructions in Scripture to show us what to do when we're offended. If somebody's hurt us, somebody's wronged us. Matthew 18, verse 15 to 17. Number one, moreover, if your brother trespass against you, if he's wronged you, sinned against you, offended you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. And if he shall hear it, you have gained your brother. The aim of going to see the person is not to attack them. The aim is to be reconciled to them in the end of the discussion, not the argument, not the debate, the discussion. You're confronting them and telling them that they've offended you. And the aim is not to hurt them. The aim is to be reconciled to your brother. But if that doesn't work, step two, if he will not hear you, then take it with two or more witnesses. In the mouth of two or three witnesses, every word may be established. Again, the aim is for reconciliation. It's not retaliation. It's not confrontation. It's reconciliation. And number three, if he shall neglect to hear it, tell it to the whole church. I don't think that means tell it the church worldwide. I think it means representatives. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as a heathen man or a publican. And John Wesley said, how do you treat the heathen and publican? You love them and care for them. You have compassion on them. You can't treat them as a brother, but you don't hate them. You treat them as though they need to be restored back to Christ, as you would with any unbeliever. Well, we're all offended at some time, and more often than not, we'd like to think we're not offended, but we are. Even in a good marriage, you get offended. Even in good friendships and relationships, you get offended. So let's take note of these signs and remedy them as soon as possible. And let's proceed in the directions that Jesus gave us to resolve the conflict. And go and see your brother personally in private. Don't expose him in public. Well, there's a few pointers for you. So the time's gone. Have a wonderful week. God bless. See you for the next Monday morning meditation.